What's going on? Boys, arm yourselves. Life stuff. Virtue signaling came up twice recently with that exact verbiage, and it's been an off and on criticism since I think 2016 or 2017 when I made a video calling the "It's okay to be white" movement stupid. And I don't know if that video is still up, but when I released it originally, people really didn't like it. And when I take positions like those, I see why dummies would view it as virtue signaling. Tolerance and acceptance are not words you would use to describe me at the best of times. And you are absolutely right. In fact, I am becoming even less tolerant and accepting than the minimal amount I was as the days go on. So why do I still take tolerancy perspectives while being somebody who would prefer foreigners stop speaking my language and mucking it up? Well, I think there are three primary reasons. There might be more. We'll try to get to all of them. But they all tie together, so let's start with precedent. I don't like surprises. I don't like things coming out of nowhere, especially views I take or feel compelled to take. Because a lack of precedent means vulnerability. It also probably means whim. Meaning, if you take a position out of nowhere with no precedent, if this view seems like it dropped out of the sky, people, mobs, will attack you for it, and they'll succeed in attacking you because it probably is whim. If this position was something you believed in, you would have taken time to set it up slowly. Specifically so, others couldn't knock it down, and you wouldn't trip and fall off of it. You build a mountain slowly and quietly, one, so people can't recognize what you're doing and knock it over, and two, so you can be sure you want to build that mountain. Nothing is worse than getting stuck defending something you don't really believe in, something you said out of whim rather than out of conviction, which is another point we'll get to. I take these stances consistently over time, so I have options for high stakes settings. I want nothing to be a surprise for anyone. If I want to hate people, I want precedent for hating them. If I want to defend those people, I want precedent for defending them. Preferably, I'd like to have both in as many forms as possible, so I have as many defensible positions as possible. Because you never know where you're going to end up. Probably the most direct example of this is I try to stay up on gay men because if I get assigned gay at 37, I don't want it to be a surprise. And that leads us into a knot of ideas, but soul stuff. Hylics, psychics, and underdogs, outsiders, outcasts. I hate most interest groups. I hate communities. I hate cultures. I hate the culture. I hate culture war shit. I hate all of it. I hate all of them. Every group an individual with distinguishments can be part of, I do hate whatever group that person could belong to. And I hate groups because they are parasitic. They're like over-parasites feeding on individuals. You can give all your money and time to your interest group, the group that you are pressured to be part of and conform to, all of your time and money, and one, nothing ever changes, nothing ever gets better, and two, if you were to take a fall either on their behalf or in service to them, they would not help you. They wouldn't get you out of jail. They wouldn't give you a place to stay. All your interest group does, and this isn't even for protected groups, let's say. If you think you are part of some movement that's linked together by experiences or characteristics, they don't give a shit about you. They aren't going to fight for you. And fighting for them isn't going to better your life in any way. All you're doing is putting yourself in harm's way and losing time and money to people who hate you or don't care about you as an individual. How do you know that? Short of taking a fall and seeing how nobody rushes to help you? Don't toe the line. Watch just how quickly and violently your just a few moments ago comrades turn on you. And you might say, in that situation, maybe you're hurt because you got betrayed for not conforming exactly. Just join a different interest group. The difficulty with that is if you're an A and you try to join a B group, you'll be allowed entry, but you will live your life as an inferior. You're an A who says B, not a B. And these sorts of people stick out like sore thumbs in their adoptive groups. There is always this pathetic, leashed, mocked, condescended to air about these people. They are living instruments of this outsider group they have chosen to serve. And groups with similar problems that face similar issues that should align don't. Why is that? Because it's human nature to hate, one, and the more enemies a group has, the easier it is to control the dummies inside that group. Two, get them angry, point them at something that isn't the parasite feeding on them. So what are your options? If the interest group or groups you are supposed to, quote, join don't fit, don't fight for you, and joining a different interest group would make you a living puppet. What are your options? Well, I'm finding building something new, if individuality is your goal, doesn't work, so you're going to be alone. Any sort of group opposes individuality. If a group of people, if people group together based on the expectation that everyone within the group is going to be thinking or must think one way, then group in concept isn't going to work for you. And that's difficult because as an individual, you're prey for groups. And there's nothing human beings love more than mobbing an individual who can't protect themselves from the group, and they can feel justified in harming because they aren't part of the group, or they left the group, or they look like an enemy of the group, except this one's isolated for some reason. People are just awful, and groups of people will fuck your life into the ground. And I have a very unhealthy habit I'm trying to shake of defending those sorts of people. Individuals who have enough conviction to leave their groups because their groups don't serve them. And when you try to help these individuals, they do always end up fucking you over. But it's one of these situations. I have been in that position before, and would I appreciate the help? If I were the Oni Plays hypothetical, I think we actually talked about this hypothetical not that long ago, but the chimpanzee sinking in the mud. If you help the chimpanzee, it's probably going to maul you. But if you were the chimpanzee sinking in the mud, would you want someone to take a chance on helping you, even if you probably would maul them afterward? Yes. And that's a stupid instinct, but for now, as dumb as it is, I think it's one I'm willing to take losses for. Two stood against many, and that's what's important. Now, typically, the problem is people who end up in this situation, you included probably, have souls, are on some level above the circumstances you find yourself in, yet also can't control the attributes you rolled or incarnated into. In every sort of person, there is at least one cool individual. A psychic with a soul passes the cool check. It's a mixture of being above one station and still in it, or defined by it, defined by its challenges, defined by its context. The dummies you have to be associated with. So part of the reason I tried to learn about niche life situations, issues, contexts, whatever you want to call them, is if a communist black trans woman burst into my home and said, I need help, they're after me. Well, who's after you? Those fucking Hylics are after me. And she passes the cool check, I feel an obligation to do something. Not to be best buddies, not to get along, not to be a lifelong ally, but to understand or be familiar enough with what's going on, I can fulfill my outsider's responsibility. And I reiterate that intangible cool check, that psychicness, that possessing a soul is what distinguishes people. An army of communist black trans women could burst in and all demand the same thing, but only one of them from that entire crowd might pass the check, that intangible soul check, and make me feel obligated to act. And when that happens, when you find yourself in the position of needing to support someone, you don't want to be surprised. Because if you're surprised, then you're vulnerable. We talk a lot on this channel about finding reasonable perspectives. A skill in a game that makes sense, you understand how to use it even if you aren't slotting it currently. I try to learn about these perspectives, not super understand them, but familiar enough, partially out of interest. What is it like to have a soul and live in these circumstances? But also, if I need to adopt that perspective, I can. The queer academia thing, for instance. I am not a queer academic. Not that much, anyway. But if I needed to argue from the queer academic position, if I needed to defend that position or attack from that position, I'm familiar enough with it, it won't be a surprise. I'm not going to get caught flat-footed. And I do enjoy knowing these things, but being able to defend what appears to me, at least for a little while, as a me in a different form feels necessary. I don't believe in a we, I don't believe in an us, but if I did, I would want to be able to defend we and us. Part of that is understanding, part of that is precedent, even if, again, defending other outsiders is stupid. It's an obligation I don't hate fulfilling and will probably end up needing to drop at some point, but I haven't dropped it yet. But another element of all this is conviction. I watched that "You Lack Conviction" clip months ago, and it stuck with me. but I couldn't put into words why that clip felt so important. But I think I have put it together, both on a personal level and on an interpersonal level. On a personal level, conviction is an uglier, stronger confidence. Confidence says, I'm pretty sure I can. Conviction says, I know I should. Everyone always says, even St. O'Neill says, everything is confidence. You should have confidence. You should do things to build your confidence. And that's good. You can do that. You probably should do that. But confidence is situational. Another thing St. O'Neill said, sometimes you forget how to be yourself when you try to do things you would normally do and it just doesn't work. That's a lack of confidence. Your confidence, like the tide, has gone out. And maybe it'll come back in, but maybe it won't. And even if it does, what are you supposed to do in the meantime? Just sit around with your dick in your hand? If righteousness is your guide, then conviction is your will to follow it. I'm not a confident person. I'm an insecure person. I doubt myself, I doubt my abilities, I doubt my plans. I think nothing is going to go well, ever, because it almost never does. How are you supposed to feel confident in all that? You don't. Still, I manage to accomplish some things sometimes, and I can feel the degree, some degree, of psionic power I wield. That doesn't come from confidence, that comes from conviction. I don't think I'm equipped for this. I don't think this is going to turn out well. But I know I need to try. Conviction moves you through doom because it moves you not expecting anything other than doom. You aren't expecting a good outcome. You aren't even hoping for a good outcome. You know you're going to get a bad outcome, but you move anyway. Because you believe in something, even if you don't understand what that something is, enough to move forward knowing it's only going to get worse. That's what conviction is. And I think I feel a degree of esprit de corps with real outcasts, because although we have nothing in common, in fact, based on our whatever we are's, we're probably going to hate and hurt each other. We have at least both made the decision to go it alone. And really going it alone does not feel good and does not end well. You don't get to walk off into the sunset or ride off into the sunset like Clint Eastwood. You're probably going to lose your mind and get sectioned, or lose your mind on a ceiling, or get otherwise imprisoned or lynched in some way. Doesn't end well. And my feeling of responsibility to lend a hand to one of these sorts of people in, like, a Samisi rite of hospitality or whatever they call it sort of way, whatever dumb motherfuckers think I should or shouldn't be doing. No fucking parasitized half-person what I should or shouldn't think or whom I should or shouldn't associate with. It's less trying to seem like a good person, even though I will rake in those good boy points, and more laying the groundwork to understand and support outcast individuals who possess more conviction than you do. And if you want to get nastier about it, really what's happening is an advanced form of using outcast individuals as an excuse to tell larger groups to go fuck themselves. Because it has nothing to do with the individual themselves, despite their convictions, and everything to do with the position that requires conviction. As in, you could be a rooster. Roosters are my favorite animals, all time, in aesthetics and in concept. You could be a rooster who saves another rooster from a hawk, killing the hawk, and it could have nothing to do with saving another rooster, though you could make it look that way, and everything to do with killing one of these goddamned hawks. The perfect excuse to do it. And taking advantage of those opportunities takes a lot of time and preparation and research. Like the Princess Bride, taking doses of poison until you can tolerate a full dose. To tell someone to go fuck themselves, especially if they think they are clever and in a power position, and they're just gonna fucking get somebody they think they can get. No. When you think about it, it is the highest level of exploitation. But we're getting off track. That's what's going on. Conviction is today's vocabulary word. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.